Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. Blakes. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of the New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Hello. This is R.C. Blakes, and I'm so excited about today's show, today's conversation, because it's literally a conversation today. You know, you've asked me, or should I say I asked you, what did you want me to talk about on this particular session, Let's Talk with R.C. Blakes, on Monday nights, and you overwhelmingly said, let's talk about regaining confidence after a horrific breakup. And so I said, well, let me do something a little different. So what I did was, by Zoom, I reached out across the pond all the way to London, and I found one of my favorites, one of your favorites too, Chengi. She's the founder of the Blackstone Relationship Academy, ministering to women all around the world relative to all things concerning high-value women, relationships, dating, and so forth and so on. And she and I are going to have a conversation. I think it's about 45, 50 minutes or so. And we're going to dive deep. In fact, I'm going to let her just kind of dive deep into this subject with us today. And I need you to reach out and call all of your girlfriends, your sisters, your mothers, your aunts, and tell them to be a part of this, because today, I believe with all of my heart, is going to provide you with answers that you never knew you needed. Now, I was a little under the weather, still am, struggling with allergies and sinuses and all of that. So you hear that in my voice. You'll probably even see that in my eyes. But nevertheless, this content is going to be amazing today. So I want to bring you right now into that conversation. Did it by Zoom, and I'm proud of myself because I was the only one there. I didn't have anybody to help me, and we made it happen. I recorded it, and we made it happen, and I'm bringing it to you today. So let's get ready to go into the conversation with Chengi and I relative to what happened with your confidence. Where did it go? So how do you get it back? Let me say you ladies asked me to, the audience, because men as well. You asked me to discuss something relative to how to get your confidence back after a bad breakup. And so I have one of my favorites here today, and one of your favorites, because you've been asking me to bring Chengi back. Bring Chengi back. We want to hear more from Chengi. Two people you asked me for. First, you asked for Lisa, and then you asked for Chengi. And I love it because it allows us to have a female perspective. Clearly, I'm not a female at all. Thank you. And so, Chengi, thank you for being with me today.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be with all of you in your community and chatting with you. It's always a pleasure. It's an honor.
Lisa and I thoroughly enjoyed our time in London with you, the few days that we were there with you.
I know.
You guys really laid out the red carpet.
Oh, did we? We thought you did. I've got to let your community know he paid for everything. So we were just being guests.
Well, there you have it. That's that masculine energy, I suppose.
Absolutely. You're a real masculine man. I've got to tell you, you were like on point. I loved it. I was like, come and stay.
That's right. So they want to, and this is just going to be a free-flowing conversation between you and I. The community wants to know, the ladies in particularly are asking me, how do you regain your confidence after a bad breakup? And I get it, because, you know as well as I that breakups have a massive impact on a person.
Yeah.
But I think it has a greater impact on a woman more so than men. Some men go through some really horrific breakups, but I think women are typically more invested into relationships than men are. for a
Mhm.
few reasons. I think quite often women find or think that they're finding their identity in a relationship. So when it fails, it's like she's lost herself.
Yeah.
Um, and women tend to invest themselves completely and totally, emotionally, financially, sexually, and every other way into relationships, whereas men are just pretty much showing up for the physical thing. They're
Yeah.
many times rarely invested emotionally, and sad to say, sometimes they're not even invested financially.
Mhm.
Just feminine men taking advantage of the weakness of a woman that has been masculinized by um, certain traumas that life affords. And
Yeah.
so that's been the question. That's what everybody wants me to talk about. How does a woman regain her confidence? So from your being, everybody wants to make me this relationship guru, which I am not. I just talk about relationships, but I am no relationship guru. I'm
Yeah.
not a relationship coach. You are all of those things.
Yeah.
Black Swan Academy, Chengi's World, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You are one of the premier voices for women in the world today relative to how to be a high value woman and how to attract and maintain a relationship with a high value man.
Mhm.
So, with all of that being said, I'm going to just kind of follow your lead on this.
Great. Well, I'll 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 take that on. Bishop, I think it's an amazing question and a really powerful one, an important one as well. I think the question that a woman has to ask herself is, where did I lose it in the first place?
Hmm.
Um, you know, and the answer is that we don't really lose our confidence in a relationship with an adult male. We were already scripted without confidence in ourselves and in our identity. And then we attract a man that will only validate that already existing belief.
Time out, time out, time out, time out. I got to stop you when you drop a bomb like that.
Sure.
Unpack that because that's a revelation.
Okay.
She really didn't lose it with the man.
No.
It was already deficient. And she
Yes.
simply attracted a man that played into that script.
Yes. And that's what we call confirmation bias. We already have a pre existing belief about who we are, what we are worth, what we deserve before we even come into the world, before we even are presented into the world. And so everything we do, the brain is wired to seek confirmation of its belief systems. Our belief systems create our thoughts, which create our outcomes, which create our character, which create our person. It's a whole systematic thing. And that belief system is developed way early in childhood.
Mm.
When we start to look at the adult relationships that we are attracting, they're actually just a replay of a relationship with one of your caregivers or both. So your narrative about who you are, what you deserve, this is something you came into the world per se holding. And so even your girlfriends, usually when I'm dealing with people, it's not one relationship that's broken. It's, when a woman's going through a breakup, it's not one relationship that's broken. Often even her friendships are out of alignment because we're attracting the things that are going to confirm our pre-existing identity. So I can explain a little bit further if you wish.
Yeah.
So it starts off with the word normal. Okay. We assume that when we use the word normal, that it is like saying the sun shines in the morning and that's normal. But every individual has their narrative of normal. Your normal, my normal, John's normal, Sally's normal. They're very, very specific and they're wired in the child brain. Before the child has a sophisticated brain enough to figure out what is going on, it has a very simple system. The subconscious mind takes snapshots of normal. Normal equals to the subconscious mind and to the brain what is familiar. Familiar equals to subconscious brain what is safe. Safe is the subconscious mind's and the mind's only protocol, is to keep you safe. Now, the mind is not going to have a moral compass around that. It just assumes that if it is familiar, it is safe. Now, you have Jane, who grew up with a loving mom like RC.Blakes and Lady Lisa. She's loved, she's treasured, she's cuddled, her needs are met when she cries. And so her normal is my emotions are safe, my emotions are valid, and therefore the world responds with love and care to me when I cry. That's what the brain does. And then it makes a blueprint. It's like a program. So it programs Jane to have a very good setup of what it's like. Then you have Sally. Sally cries and nobody comes.
Wow.
Sally cries and wets her nappy and nobody changes her. Sally sometimes goes hungry. And sometimes when Sally cries, she gets told off. Why are you crying? Grow up. Don't be so whatever. For whatever reason, maybe because it's abusive or mom is just so busy she can't attend to Sally. Then we've got to face the fact that every child is born with a predisposition. Some are more empathetic, some are highly sensitive. So even if you grew up in a family with 4 children but all your parents treated you exactly the same way, they were fair, but you as Sally maybe needed a bit more affection, a bit more time because of your psychological wiring, and your parents just treated you fairly. That's why sometimes in families you can have one really wounded, damaged one who just seems to need attention and the other's okay because of their personal wiring. Okay, so at this point we've got this Sally situation where now she reads the narrative is I don't matter, I don't count, my needs don't matter. And when I ask for them to be met, I will be silenced or I will be hurt. And this becomes Sally's blueprint. Both these women are going to go out into the world, and one is going to be very attracted to people that really cherish. Now, here's the rub. Here is the secret sauce. In each of our brains, we have a mechanism called the reticular activating system. It is a very sophisticated filter that works with your belief system to filter out information. So, Bishop, if our senses were going to give us all the information they're taking in right now, if my eyes, my hands, if my brain was to process all of that, it would probably shut down, right? So it needs a filter. It needs to narrow down the information I need for this moment to exist, right? So right now, the rest of my senses are shut down. My eyes and my ears are open because we need to focus on this conversation. It's also shut down any other conversations in my head. This is how sophisticated it is. And this filter works on the beliefs. These are the beliefs that Sally or Jane come with, right? So its job is to filter whatever confirms the belief. So, and it's so sophisticated, Bishop, that you don't even have to speak for me to pick up the kind of human that you are. Because as a child, I was picking up even micro signals, right? I could read micro expressions because like a baby learns to speak English because they hear English.
Wow.
In the same way and if communication is 80% plus nonverbal, then the child learns that in this home, this is how an abuser looks. This is how somebody who's going to neglect me looks. And they all have a twitch in the eye or a way that they look or a posture they have. And this child takes in this information because the subconscious mind is like 30,000 times stronger than the conscious mind. So this is a powerful system that God has given us. It's incredible. And so this is why God says that shall be transformed by the renewing of the mind. This is what he's actually referring to. And so what happens is this filter takes you through life. So you naturally gravitate to what's familiar, and that is often toxic relationships. If you are that woman who's in the cycle, people that will ignore you, and you actually know how to pick them out. So I actually say to my clients, if I put 10 men in a room and 9 of them were who you should be with, they were like Bishop's recommendation. Okay, highly recommended. And I bring, and I put in, just throw in one that suits your narrative better. They might all be handsome. They might all do really, really well. And they might be like, whew, okay, they're great. But you're gonna have a particular attraction to the one I threw in there. And you're not gonna know why, but he's the one that's gonna get your blood boiling. Why is this? Because every thought has a chemical reaction in our body, right? So when Jane was loved and cuddled by the Blakes family and they made her special, her body would produce dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. She'd bond with them, she'd feel good. And so her body knows that whenever this reaction comes, it produces dopamine, it produces all of these things. When Sally was ignored and all of these things happened and the brain said, okay, this is normal. This is how she would produce dopamine and serotonin. It would actually, in a really weird way, it's a happy hormone for her, right? She might produce maybe some stress, some cortisol, but after a while, it's her normal. So when she meets the guy who's in light of her programming, guess what? Her body reacts to him.
Come on now, come on.
It's turned on to him. So this is kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And she doesn't know why she's so drawn to him. Why do I always attract losers? Or, you know, it's not that there aren't men, but her brain is filtered for that. It's designed and wired for that.
So now what I'm hearing you say, which is expanding on, you know, my thought, is that there's actually a chemical and physiological connection even to soul ties. I heard a guy say something the other day which was powerful, and it kind of, you know, pushed me back in my seat, and I'm thinking about it as I listen to you kind of unpack this for us. He said, for some women, chaos is her comfort zone. Wow. Wow. Why am I constantly attracting this? You know, chaos is her comfort zone.
That's normal.
It's normal. So it's not, so she didn't lose her confidence in the relationship. This is something that began, oh my goodness. So it gives a whole different perspective to me relative to train up a child in the way she should go.
Yeah.
And when she's old, she will not depart from it. You know, sometimes we don't really look deep enough into the scripture to see what God is, you know, the totality of what God is saying.
Yes.
So a woman that is presently dealing with a massive breakup, and maybe she's feeling a bit shaken by it. What would you tell her to do? Because, you know, when a person, but especially a woman, gets into a position like that, there's this overwhelming sense of hopelessness, this sense of being devalued. You know, now she's realizing that it wasn't the relationship that robbed me of my confidence, it's something broken in me. She can't rewind the hands of time, so to speak. So what would you, where does she go from this point?
See, the good news, Bishop, there's always good news.
Always.
The good news is the brain can rewire itself. You can actually reprogram your mind, which is fantastic. Now, what I find with myself and my clients is that you can, what we need, when you understand what I've just shared with you, the first thing you do is give yourself a break, okay? Because you are not an idiot. You're not some needy, desperate, crazy woman. You are simply living out your protocols, your survival protocols. And we need to understand that this normal state is survival. That is the only protocol your brain has. Our brains are not wired for thriving and all these great things. These are more divine things. It's actually quite primitive, is to keep you alive, basically. So you are choosing this path literally to keep yourself alive. That's how powerful the survival mode is. And obviously, in order for you to have coped, you've got into masculine energy, you rely on that a lot. So I always say to women, first and foremost, let's just forgive ourselves. Let's just take the pressure off. It's not your fault. Okay. You are simply living out, like you said, train a child in the way that they should go and they will not depart from you. You're literally living out the prophecy. You're living out how God created you to be.
Wow.
But now that you can identify, it's a little bit like if you're really, really ill and you get a diagnosis, then you know, okay, there's a cure for that, right? So first and foremost, let's understand that it's a journey. Whenever you find yourself in breakups and situations, understand I need to heal myself way deeply. The biggest problem with women is, and it's not even with women in general, the messaging in the world is just get another better one. Right?
Yeah.
Just replace that one, or a good one is going to come, you know. And so what we do is we cry for a few months, do zero about what's going on internally, and then we just go at it again. And maybe we have a few rules this time. This time, if he doesn't pay for the third date, I'm not going to date him. And we kind of feel like that's going to be the key, right? But actually this time you're going to unfortunately rinse and repeat, because you simply have not carved a new neurological pathway.
Wow.
And you can carve out a new neurological pathway, but it is a process, it's a system and discipline that often comes with accountability and some work. I call it the work because it is work. You know, if you are on a call with me, you're working, by the time you get to 20 minutes, Chengi, I'm tired. Yeah, because we're actually working, we're rewiring the brain, and it's gonna be, and it takes a few months. And I really feel that women need to stop, engage in healing. Okay, find therapy, find a counselor, find a coach, and date that person, because not all counselors, coaches, and therapists are built the same. Okay, because unfortunately, we're humans and we all have different. So find the right connection for you, because I've had clients who've been in therapy for 10 years or 5 years, and they're like, I've worked with you for 3 years and I've made more progress. And my family's saying I've made more progress. Why? Because you have to make sure it's the right therapists and the right people to work with you. But, you know, I think as a culture I used to believe that therapy was for crazy people.
I did too.
Yeah, you had to be kind of a bit loopy, and coaching was such a luxury for, you know, only the wealthy, you know, and all of these stigmas that kind of stop us from actually getting the help we need, because rewiring the brain at the level that I'm discussing requires what is called co-regulation. Okay, so we teach people, yourself and I, how to regulate themselves. When we're on YouTube, when they're watching our videos, we're teaching them how to self-regulate. You can only self-regulate halfway, right? Self-regulation can only get you to the halfway mark, but you need to co-regulate with somebody. This is why Jesus sent them out 2 by 2. This is why there's a principle of 2 keep a bed warm, and why we see this principle of people working together is because of co-regulation. So a therapist, a coach, or somebody who's super wise, or a good pastor who's super wise, can help you co-regulate. We need to be able to regulate our emotions with somebody and alone. And this is the power, and that gives you that kind of quicker transition to your next phase. Somebody can call you out and say, you're doing that again, you're sabotaging again, this person fits your old profile, can we please, you know, go with the new narrative, you know, this, and all of those things. But first and foremost, I would say really invest. I would love for there to be an easier option, but the truth is you can't undo 40 years, 30 years, 50 years of programming and then reinforcement, because every time you go into a bad relationship, you're just reinforcing that narrative. You know, I would definitely say therapy, but for those people who are like, I can't afford it, it'll take me 6 months to save up the money, or whatever the case is, because I recognize that, been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
The process that we need to take is first give ourselves a break and understand it's okay. It's not your fault. It's fine. Forgive yourself. That's the most powerful thing. And I know you preach this a lot on your channel.
Absolutely.
The second thing is to really ask yourself, what am I making this breakup mean? What am I making it mean about me?
Wow.
Right? Because often what we make this rejection mean is I'm not good enough, is that same narrative. right? One of the most powerful things is to unlearn rather than learn. Sometimes learning is great. Learning is actually fantastic, but only if we're able to unlearn. So
Absolutely.
if I sit down with myself and say, okay, this relationship ended, but what am I making it mean about me as a person? Can I make it mean that I made a bad decision? People make bad decisions, and I made those bad decisions based on my programming and my background and how I was raised, which gives me a bit more freedom. Or does that mean I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm unlovable, I'm stupid? And because when we start going to that other negative narrative, then now we start to justify the predator or the aggressor or the person that has wounded us, and then we put ourselves again in victim status, which is always the powerless status. I always believe that if you can do the work to a point where you can see yourself in it, that is the most powerful thing, because you can always change yourself. You can never change the other person,
Wow, 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 wow. That's
right?
powerful.
Yeah. So kind of bring the narrative back to self, not in a self-hating way, but actually, okay, that was a set of decisions. Could I make a different set of decisions that can A, make me feel better, do better? And the answer is yes, right? Our life is a sum total of decisions that we're making along the way. And, once you can figure out what that means, another thing I say to ladies, it's okay to hurt.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're spending so much, the healthiest people in the world are the people that feel well. Okay. Emotions are from God, the
Mm-hmm.
whole spectrum. None of them were made by Satan.
Exactly
you
right.
know, shame was not made by Satan. None of these, they are all for a purpose, and hurt and pain are God's best ambassadors. They're the best teachers, right? But we can turn pain into suffering when it goes unhandled. And this is what a lot of women have, is suffering. And suffering is pain unhandled. When pain feels like it will never end, it turns into suffering.
Suffering.
But if you can acknowledge the pain, I'm hurting right now, and hurt hurts.
It does.
And it's okay for it to hurt. It's okay for me to locate the feeling and say, okay, this is hurt. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay for me to feel hurt. People should walk away from us having us invested, and we should feel hurt. You would not be a normal human being if
What
you
hurt.
connect with another human being, invest in a relationship, that person leaves and you're not hurt. If you're not hurt, you need to come and see me,
Yeah.
because we've got a whole different set of problems, right? Right? You shouldn't not feel hurt. It's perfectly normal to be hurt. It's perfectly normal. And that also, I find, really gives a lot of relief to a lot of the ladies. Like, oh, it's okay. Yes, it is. If you're not hurting, it means you are storing it somewhere, and it's going to implode, and it's not going to be a good day for anybody when it does. So it's okay. And also sharing, as women, unlike men recover from breakup differently. Men have to work it out. They need space, time, and work, right? Give a man work and time and space, he's going to heal himself. He's going to fix that pain.
True.
Women need to talk it out. This is how we regulate ourselves. So find somebody and talk it out. Preferably somebody who really truly loves you and has time for you and can give you that support, because talking out will increase your oxytocin. It's going to make you feel bonded, and it's going to start bringing those hormones that make you feel better. So you're better off having a conversation with somebody who's sensible, not somebody who's going to be like, girl, just get out there and meet somebody else. That is not going to be helpful.
Because it does not allow you, or should I say, it does not demand that you go back to what you originally said.
Yeah.
It's really not about the breakup. It's about something that has been broken in you that needs repair. And it's about becoming whole within yourself. And it brings me back, whenever I have these conversations with you, it always brings me back to, thoughts that I've had. I asked the question, why did God create Adam and Eve separately? Because the indication is that he created Adam, and then for a while, Adam did his thing, named animals and did all of these things. And then God said, okay, now it's not good for him to be alone. I have to make a woman for him. And it came down to all of the animals. God made male and female alike, and, when it came down to man, the living soul, God made them as individuals. Even when he created Eve, he put Adam to sleep. He created Eve. So their first relational experience was with God and themselves, which brings us to what Jesus said is the greatest commandment. Love the Lord thy God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself, which speaks of having a divine love for God. Out of that divine love for God, a self-love. And then out of that self-love, you can develop a love for others. And I think that's really what I'm hearing you say. Somewhere you've gotten out of alignment, and you have to come back into that alignment where your identity and your value is hid away in God. And out of that, he gives you a self-love that gives you the ability to accept people walking away. I just did a singles conference last night for an amazing international ministry, an amazing ministry. And the question was asked, how do you know when you're ready to date again? If you've gone through divorce or if you had a bad breakup, how do you know you're ready? And my answer was, you know that you're ready when dating again does not say to you, if this does not work, I'll fall apart. If you can accept the fact that people are human, this may or may not work, and if it does not work, I'm still good. You're at a healthy enough place as an individual to actually date again. If everything is hinging on this working, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to fall apart, you need to go back to square one, lock in with you and God, figure yourself out, get a great therapist, coach, counselor, whatever, until you get to a place where you can say, and I bring my dear wife into this conversation, who taught me something when I was a very young man, and I felt like I didn't want to commit, I didn't want to get married. And I told her that I wasn't feeling like I was wanting to be married and she should move on. And she instantly moved on. Now, that baffled me because I knew that she loved me with all of her heart. Whenever I'd said something like that to a woman in the, prior to that, it was always, please, 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 the ringing of the phone, the knocking on the door. I got none of that out of my wife. I got none of that. I said I didn't want it. She moved on, literally moved on, which put me in a place where now I had to really look into the mirror. And it really helped me to realize that her individuality at that point became the most attractive thing to me. Her individuality, her knowing who she was separate and apart from me and not finding her identity in our relationship became the most attractive thing to me. And it ultimately brought me back to her, and thank God that, she accepted me, and the rest is history. You know what I mean? But she could have fallen apart, but she moved on.
And that's a special and amazing quality as well. And that also speaks to her own love story, her own narrative about, and I call them naturals in my book, but these are really just women that were raised healthily, that had a healthy sense of self, that had enough of their needs met. It's not that she didn't fall apart internally, but there was an anchor that I'm still worthy. I'm still deserving.
Wow.
And her identity wasn't really around how you behave. Of course she was hurt, but her feeling that I'm still worthy. And this is the thing, is when a woman knows and feels deeply that she is worthy of love. Because here's the thing with the feminine and how God created woman. She has value by being, not doing. Adam, you're going to name the animals. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this, right? But Eve, I be his bone. I be his flesh. I be a queen. I be who I am. And that is the power of the feminine. And when a woman does not experience too much trauma, because we all experience trauma at a level, but if she's raised and loved and cared for, her beingness is very sound. So she knows that her value is not really about what is happening. It's really about her being. And so it's easy for her to bounce back. She can, leave this guy, and then men still flock to her energy because she is being. And this is a quality that as women we must all ascend to. I used to be the girl, Bishop, who would weep myself to sleep and cry to God.
No, not you, not you.
Once upon a time, Bishop, I was that girl. Until, like you said earlier, you have to be, we don't understand that God's love to us translates in a healthy I. We cannot be a we or us until the I is really, truly healthy. And we only give from the surplus, because Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So as you love yourself, can I love? And the deception with us all as humans is that I can love you better than I love me. But I can truly only love you to the measure that I love
Right.
myself.
Correct. Now, I heard you. I read a post of yours, and
Yeah.
because really, as I'm listening to you, what I'm realizing is this is really like a 2 or 3 day seminar type thing.
Yeah, it's work.
Quite honestly, this is like a 2 or 3 day seminar type thing that women need in some kind of way. When the world opens up again, I'm going to have to incorporate you into what I do relative to Queenology. I think women need a day of 3 or 4 hours of being able to sit there and do this kind of work. And I love hearing it from you, because for me, as God gives it to me, it's like revelation. When I listen to you with what you do, and you're being a woman and having gone through these things, it just ties everything together. But back to my point, I was reading a post of yours. I forget exactly how it went, but um, you were talking about why are women attracted to the drama? Why why are some women attracted to men that just constantly produce drama? And for me, it seems like I can't really get women to be attracted to men that don't bring drama. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A really safe, healthy, wholesome man, for a lot of ladies today, is just not their type.
Mm.
They're not attracted to him. And they're always constantly attracted to men that just bring drama. They get rid of one, and then you see them pop up with another one, and you realize that's the same profile as the last three you had. And why don't email me anymore? I don't want to read no more of your emails, because you yeah. So I found that intriguing. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, it's one and the same thing of what we've been discussing. Um, she needs it. That's the narrative she has. That's her normal. So she's again going to be attracting it. But the interesting thing about wounds and trauma is that we will always attract people who are wounded in the same way.
Wow.
Because it's a spiritual read or an energy read, whichever way you want to see it. But it's a spiritual read. When women that are wounded, or through trauma, which is usually, trauma is not necessarily something that happens to you that's really, really bad alone. It is that, but it's also the things you did not receive that you needed to be a whole person can cause trauma in a
Wow.
child. And so trauma, then the spectrum of trauma itself, the definition is way bigger. So you could have had, parents that worked and did everything that was right, but maybe they didn't give you the attention that you needed, because you could be a highly sensitive person. You could be an empathetic person. Like I said earlier, we're born with these things. So then the child experiences that as trauma. And the thing with that, when we have undealt with trauma, unhealed trauma, what we do is we are quick to identify people with the same trauma. And the thing with wounded men who manifest more as feminine, but also you can get your wounded masculine, something that I talk about. They actually supply drama quite nicely.
Wow.
Okay. Because a lot of people think that it's, the woman, that some women are really sweet, very quiet, very lovely, but they actually attract men that have a lot of drama. because maybe they, with their parents, they were more the submissive and they'd cower and be like this. And mom was bringing the drama, or dad was bringing the drama. There was violence, there was chaos, and so maybe her response might be even silent. But men, there are men that actually will create a set of circumstances for a woman. So I'll give you an example of my mom. My mom is, I call her Madeir, right? She's literally, every time I watch Madeir, I'm like, my mom is the African version, right? She's crazy. And I couldn't handle her for a long time. And I was talking to her the other day and I was like, Mom, like, really, mother? And she's like, I used to be quiet just like you, because in my family, I'm the quiet one, apparently. And she was like, but your dad, I had to. And, at first I was like, Mom, that's a bit of an excuse. I think you're a bit extra. But actually, as she began to tell me the story, my dad would do, God rest his soul, and I love him dearly. My mom had 6 girls and 1 boy. And in an African culture, you must have boys, and the harem of women is not going to, you're not a real man, right? Even though my dad was a good dad to a degree. I said inverted commas because being a good dad is being a good husband first and then a good father. True. But he wasn't a great husband, but he tried to be a good dad. So it's all of a sudden I say, I'm the richest man in the world, 6 girls, I'm going to be so rich, because obviously men pay dowry and he'd make us feel great that we were going to bring him wealth and happiness. So we didn't feel any kind of way about it, but he would in secret tell my mom. So they'd be in their bedroom and he would turn around and say, well, the reason I cheat on you so much is because I'm looking for a woman who can give me a male. So he would say that. He would create this scenario in their private place. And then what we would hear was, right? Yeah. We would hear okay. So we would be like, oh my goodness, mom is crazy. And my dad would always say, your mom is crazy. Right. But actually, when you look back with obviously more enlightened eyes and, having done the work that I've done, I realized that my dad brought the drama, but my mom manifested it. So there are a lot of men who will create situations and say things or do things, or, they're on their phone, you're a good woman, and they're on their phone talking to some other woman, or making you feel like they're talking to some other woman. And you're starting to think, hang on, you were secure, well, you were building your security, but now they're behaving funny because they need the drama. They have their narratives that they're working through. They need a woman that's cantankerous or loud, because mom was, right? So men have their own mother wounds and their own father wounds, but often men will be attracted to a woman like mother. So all of these are cycles that actually have to be broken. So a lot of people will be like, but she's so lovely. Why is she always chasing these Well, it's because the men she's attracted to, they also have drama-inducing behaviors, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a cycle that has to be broken, and the Bible calls it generational curses. Right, to the 4th, the 5th generation, and all of these things. It's actually ways of thinking. Yeah. It's actually paradigms that we pass on, normalize to our children. They grow up in those environments. We create those environments for them. So I think, what we definitely, like you said earlier, this is a deep work. It is a real work. It is, it's transformative if we can get people to realize that we've got work to do internally, and a few tricks and a few tips and a few this is not the ticket. It's fantastic if you're healed because it gives you navigation skills, but by and large, there's some real inner work that needs to be done. And that's the work of the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The transformation of the life.
Yes.
I love what you said, and I'm going to let you go now because I can sit here and listen to you talk for the next hour or more. There's really, normal is different for everybody. That's powerful. So there's not like a cookie cutter normal.
No.
There are millions of normals. That's powerful. So everybody has to locate what he or she views as normal. And then align that with what the Creator designed our lives to look like. Yeah. And then you'll see where you're not centered in terms of His will. Yes. And then out of that, we can then make goals. We can make better relational choices. No wonder the Bible says where there's no vision, a clear view of what the Creator designed for you, the people perish.
Yes.
We come into the world and the world impacts us, and the world shifts our normal to the right or to the left, up or
Yes.
down.
Yes.
And it's only when we get back to the Creator's design
Yes.
that we can recalibrate
Yes.
and center that normal under the Creator's design. Even if our family has never been in that place, we can be the first to break that generational curse, that paradigm, that social conditioning,
Yes.
and align ourselves. And then out of that, we can bring every other tier of life into alignment. So
Absolutely.
this has been some powerful stuff. My God, my God. You you are my female version.
I know, we're like twins. We even wore hats today. I wore mine because I knew you'd be wearing yours. So I was like, and then I was saying to the bishop, I was saying to God, I'm wearing pink. Make sure the bishop wears blue. And then he shows up on Zoom and he's wearing blue. I'm like, where's your hat? You're wearing blue, but you're missing a hat. So we're like twins, right?
Absolutely. I listen to you, and you take my thoughts and you put my thoughts into a scientific package, a prophetic package. It's amazing to hear you validate the things that I teach by revelation. And I thank God for you. You are very, very special to Lisa and I. I think you know that. Lisa loves you dearly, and you're part of our family. Even in terms of this, trying to facilitate this Zoom today, this is my first time ever facilitating a Zoom by myself. All I know to do is hit the link and start talking. But today I had to facilitate this without Lisa, without any of the staff. And I said to you, you're one of the few people in the world that I would even attempt this with because you are family. So
Absolutely.
we love you, Chingy. Tell the people a little bit before we go. Tell them a little bit about Black Swan Academy and all that you're doing and where they can find you and follow you.
Oh, fantastic. Black Swan Relationship Academy. That's the YouTube channel and that's the website. But really I saw the depth of the work. The Lord showed me the gravity of the work. Bishop, we are shifting generations. This is generational work, what we are doing. And God gave me a massive mandate, huge, as he does. He's a big God, right? 1 billion women. Oh my goodness, Lord, you're crazy. No, right? But he can do it. But I realized that I couldn't do this alone. I needed support and I needed systems that would be able to reach 1 billion women without breaking. So really the Black Swan Relationship Academy was really my way of taking a lot of the information I've shared with you today and create courses that women can actually enroll in. So I talk about emotional mastery and I go very deep into some of the stuff we've discussed today. I talk about feminine energy. So I've got a lot of courses that I've been creating, which is really unpacking the knowledge that I have gleaned in the work that I've done with clients over the years and packaging it in ways that it's a bit more affordable. They can download it, they can watch the videos, and they can come to an understanding work through some workbooks and really start to do the inner work. And so the academy was something that the Lord put on my heart. And then he also told me that I needed help. And, it took many months of prayer. I was working alone for a very long time. I sacked everybody from my assistant to anybody. And for 6 months, I was just in prayer and asking the Lord to really just send who he wanted. And, I said to him in prayer, I said, Lord, the Spirit is upon me. Let it be upon those that you're going to send. And honestly, Bishop, it blows my mind how the Spirit of the Lord works. But, he started to handpick these particular individuals and they have sat under my teaching and learning and growing. And the Lord has been faithful to really give me a set of coaches that understand my teachings, understand what I teach, and can support me because obviously the work for me was becoming too much. And the work we do here, Bishop, the work I do is like the work of the pastor. So you would understand this.
I would.
It takes out of you, issue
Yeah.
come from you. I can be on a call. I work with even pastors. I work with, said I work with a lot of people and sometimes by the time I'm finished on a 1 hour call, my clothes are drenched, they're wet because issue has been taken from me. So it's really a deep work. It's sharing your life force with another person and allowing the Holy Spirit to use you. So it became really draining for my body. and for my mind. And so the Lord has been faithful to give me coaches who can sort of hold Moses' hand up, if you like, so that we can move forward. So Black Swan Relationship Academy offers a suite of really highly trained, God-send. I just do not, you just can't be a part of my team. It doesn't work that way. Coaches who will be there to support the ladies at a price that hopefully they can afford, because obviously working with me, because of the demand and everything else, might be a little bit costly for most people. But failure to do that, the Academy also provides courses that people can download, and of course free videos 7 days a week from myself and my coaches that will kind of help you. So whether you can afford it, can't afford it, want to afford it, Black Swan Relationship Academy is really there for you. And we do a lot of deep dives into a lot of this psychology, a lot of this emotional stuff, spiritually, how things work spiritually in relationships. I've got like the energy mastery class. I call it energy, and I know some people get a bit funny about it, but really it's just a way that we can use a word to really speak about spiritual realities.
Absolutely.
So there's everything in spiritual soul and mind level to support the work that God is doing. So I think that's about it in terms of, and of course you can find me on Instagram. Everything is Black Swan Relationship Academy.com to get yourself a coach or to watch videos, and on YouTube and Instagram, which are like my main platforms.
Well, we love you and thank you for being such an amazing blessing today. And we'll have to talk about our next time getting together, because I know that it's going to blow up. People are just going to be crazy about this. And I just want to introduce you to everybody that I know, because you are an amazing blessing. And we love you, Chengi.
We love you too, Bishop. 100% love you. I've already told you that I'm coming to stay in your house. I've invited myself to New Orleans and to your church.
Absolutely. And I'm certain Lisa will make up the guest room for you.
I'm sure she will. I mean, bless her. Does she have a choice? I'm just going to show up with my here, Queen Swan.
We love you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you guys got something great out of this today. Now listen, I already know that was absolutely phenomenal and amazing for many of you. I already know. I encourage you to go and follow Chengi. She's a part of my network. She's a part of my family. And you'll be hearing a lot from her in the future moving forward. And my prayer for you today is that the Spirit of God will just help you to process all that you've heard, and that the Spirit of God will help you to pull all things together again, and that God will give you great strength and great confidence in the name of Jesus Christ. Now listen, don't forget to go by my website, rcblakes.com, sign up for my mailing list, check out all of my online programs, check out Transcending, the Father Wound, Queenology, the list goes on. Just check them out once you get there. And don't forget to go by Amazon and pick up any or all of my books. It'll be a blessing to you. Those of you that need counseling, there's a link in the description for BetterHelp Counseling. If you use the link, you'll get 10% off of the cost of their counseling, and they in turn will make a deposit into RC Blakes Ministries for the referral. Now, I love you. Lisa and I love you. We thank God for you. Thank God for all of you that sow into our ministry and into our lives. We appreciate you so much, because you do not have to do it, but we so appreciate you and we love you. So until next time, I'm RC Blakes Jr. and I'm saying to you, you're on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. So we will see you at the top. God bless you. Until next time.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.